Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Yaswanubhavam Akila Shati Sadamekam Adhyatmandipam Atiti Shatantanunindam Samsarinam Karunayaha Purana Tam Vyasasunam Upayami Guru Muninam. Anyone know the translation of that verse? Actually, this is obeisances to Shukadev Goswami. Yeah, I'll just read it real quick. It's really wonderful. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto him, Shuka, the spiritual master of all sages, the son of Vyasadeva, who out of his great compassion for those gross materialists who struggle to cross over the darkest regions of material existence, spoke this most confidential supplement to the cream of Vedic knowledge, after having personally assimilated it by experience. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is spoken Kurunayaha Purana Guyam. It's spoken out of causeless mercy. So the Srimad Bhagavatam, when we sit down to study Srimad Bhagavatam, we should understand that we are in direct contact with the Karuna Shakti of Krishna. And by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam daily for as long as you possibly can, it's not that reading Srimad Bhagavatam ends once this class ends. Actually, we should be trying to create a pattern of life for ourselves where we can be always studying the Srimad Bhagavatam. Either studying the Srimad Bhagavatam or serving the Srimad Bhagavatam. So that is the compassion which Shukadeva Goswami has given to the world, as he's spoken this literature which one can fix their mind on constantly and serve constantly. So service and surrender to the message of the Srimad Bhagavatam is the perfection of our Krishna consciousness. And everything is contained within the pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And anarthopasanam sakshat bhakti yogam sadhoksaje lokasya jalato vidvams chakri satvava samhitam. It's capable of anarthopasanam sakshat. Any unwanted qualities which we have in our heart, lust, anger, greed, pride, all of these things can be eradicated through the regular study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So I have somehow had the nature in my Krishna consciousness to study a lot. I have a habit of reading quite a bit. And I have read many of the Acharya's books. I have read many of Srila Prabhupada's disciples' books. And I've read Srila Prabhupada's books many, many times, over and over again. But I have been recently having the realization that there is no vibration which quite compares to Srila Prabhupada's translation of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's very unique in its presentation, and it's a very grounding vibration to be in constant contact with. There's a tendency to potentially go off into the ether and be interested in so many subjects and concepts, which in one sense it's not bad, but one has to be firmly rooted to something. So my Guru Maharshi says 80-20, 80% core, 20% explore. So we have to see that 80% of our hearing and chanting is coming from that grounding vibration of the Srimad Bhagavatam and those who are properly representing the Srimad Bhagavatam. And when we're firmly rooted in that, then we qualify ourselves for confidential service to Radha and Krishna. It's actually incomprehensible how through the study of the Srimad Bhagavatam everything is revealed. Yasyam vai shriyamanayam Krishne parapurushe lokasya janato vidvams Yasyam vai shriyamanayam Krishne paramapurushe bhakti upadyate pumsam soka moha payataha. Bhakti upadyate pumsam, that by just hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, one develops realization how Krishna is the Parama Purusha, Supreme Person, the Supreme Enjoyer. And by realizing how Krishna is the Supreme Enjoyer, we get bhakti upadyate pumsam. The bhakti sprouts within our heart naturally, just like yesterday when I was walking over here. I think during the morning program, sometime I was walking over in the morning for breakfast, and someone was clearing out the fire hydrants because the seasons are changing, so they're just clearing out the water, and just kind of, otherwise it can create problems, I guess. So they're just clearing out the water. And that water, it just flows and flows and flows. So by studying the Srimad Bhagavatam, bhakti just flows from our heart. And the byproduct of that is soka moha payapaha. Lamentation, illusion, fearfulness, which comes from a bodily identification, is all eradicated through the study of Srimad Bhagavatam. So before we begin glorifying the Srimad Bhagavatam, before we begin reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, is the etiquette to glorify the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we will now begin. Mathurayam tata vrajam Shurusena patim tata Prajapatyam nirupyeshtim Agnim aipat api ba ishvaraha Mathurayam tata vrajam Surusenam patim tata Prajapatya nirupyestim Agnim api badishvaraha Mathurayam, at Mathura, tata, also, Vajram, Vrajra, Surasena Patim, king of the Surasenas, tata, thereafter, Prajapatyam, Prajapatya, sacrifice, Nirupya, having performed, Istim, go, Agnim, fire, Apipat, placed in himself, Ishvaraha, capable. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Then he posted Rudra, the son of Aniruddha, grandson of Lord Krishna, at Mathura as the king of Surasena. Afterwards, Maharaj Yudhisthira performed a Prajapatya sacrifice and placed himself in the fire for quitting household life. Purport: Maharaj Yudhisthira, after placing Maharaj Parikshit on the imperial throne of Hastinapur, and after posting Vajra, the great-grandson of Lord Krishna, as the king of Mathura, accepted the renounced order of life. The system of 4 orders of life and 4 castes in terms of quality and work, known as Varna Ashrama Dharma, is the beginning of real human life, and Maharaj Yudhisthira, as the protector of this system of human activities, timely retired from the active life as a sannyasi, handing over the charge of the administration to a trained prince, Maharaj Parikshit. The scientific system of Varnashrama Dharma divides the human life into 4 divisions of occupation and 4 orders of life. The 4 orders of life, as Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanapras, and Sannyasi, are to be followed by all, irrespective of the occupational division. Modern politicians do not wish to retire from active life, even if they are old enough, but Yudhishthira Maharaj, as an ideal king, voluntarily retired from active administrative life to prepare himself for the next life. Everyone must be so arranged that the last stage of life, say at least the last 15 years to 20 years prior to death, can be absolutely devoted to the devotional service of the Lord to attain the highest perfection of life. It is really foolishness to engage oneself all the days of one's life in material enjoyment and fruitive activities. Because as long as the mind remains absorbed in fruitive work for material enjoyment, there is no chance of getting out from conditional life or material bondage. No one should follow the suicidal policy of neglecting one's supreme task of attaining the highest perfection of life, namely going back home, back to Godhead. Om Jnana Timidandasya Jnananjana Shalakoya Chakshurun Minitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swam Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yukta Parakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajataham Sagana Raghunatham Vitam Tham Sajivam Sarvetam Sabadutam Bharjana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopeshwa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sade Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratushe Namaha Vansha Kalpa Tarumbesya Kripa Sindhu Be'evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimade Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nivishesha Shunyabari Paschyachadeshatharine Ye Mahanta Kilaham Sabhuta Jagat Praviti Karanartamagata Tete Taruchastani Sevanome Katum Vishudam Rachanam Pravina. In today's verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, we're hearing of the exalted example of Maharaj Yudhishthira and how no matter what position or what degree of prestige one may have accumulated in this world, all of it has to be given up. Everything which you're working for now will ultimately be taken away from you in due course of time. I was raised in a Catholic household, and right now is the time of Lent. Does anyone know what Lent is? It's a time where Christians engage in some austerities for about a month, leading up to Easter. So from last Wednesday, which is known as Ash Wednesday, till Easter, which is I think 6 weeks away or something in April, some Christians, they engage in some type of penance, austerity, in remembrance of the sacrifice or the going to the desert, and Jesus gave up eating and drinking for 40 days. And on that particular festival, there is a ceremony on Ash Wednesday, last Wednesday, where you go to the church and they put tilak on your head. They give them tilak. They take ash and then they make a cross on your forehead with their thumb. And they say, from dust you've come, to dust you shall return. So we can see that everything was here before we took birth, and everything will remain after. And the only thing which is a bit unusual about it is our passing through. And thinking that we can prakriti kriyamanayam. What's the verse I'm thinking? Prakriti kriyamanaya guna karma vibhagasha ahankara itiyam me binam prakritir. Am I messing it up, right? Ahankara itiyam me ahankara vimudatmam hartaham iti manyate prakriti kriyamanani gune karmani sarvasha ahankara vimudatmam kartaham iti manyate. That's the only thing which is unusual. Everything else is just carrying on. And everything within Krishna's creation is perfectly aligned. Om Purnam Adam Purnamidam Purna Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnam Eva Vishishyate. Everything is in complete harmony for the service of Krishna. And everything is in complete harmony towards the center. Krishna being the center, and us being parts moving towards the center, everything is in complete harmony. The only thing which is out of harmony is this kartaham iti manyate, this idea that I am the doer of my activities and I have a right to lord it over everything which I have a right to be the proprietor or to be the possessor of anything which I work for in this world. Well, actually, the materials were already there. The money was already there. The house was already there. The cars were already there. The only thing which wasn't there was you. So how much of it actually belongs to you? It's just a temporary trick of the material energy. It's Maya's big joke. It's Maya's big joke that you're basically walking through a fun house. You ever seen a fun house before? Probably in India they also have carnivals. I've seen them. There are these houses which you walk through, and they have these mirrors where they're kind of like waved. And so when you look at them, you look super skinny or you look super fat. And it's, for kids, it's very fun to kind of, you're walking through and there's these mirrors. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So that's what the material energy is like, is that you're walking through and these objects of the material energy, you project your consciousness into them, just as a child looks into a mirror in a fun house. But none of it belongs to you. Balasya neha sharanam pitaro nishimha nartasya chad gadam udad vati maujatauna taptasya tat prativitirya ihasa jesas tadvad vibho tanubritam twa upekshitanam. Prahlad Maharaj says that no matter how hard you try to protect your position in this world, no matter how hard you try to maintain this constructed identity which you've worked so hard for, nothing can protect you from it being taken away. Nothing. Just as a child, when they're growing up, their parents do everything to protect them. I don't know if you guys have heard, but recently there was an Indian girl that went missing in Dominican Republic. Somehow it became like worldwide news, and I happened to see it over the past few days. So she's an Indian girl. She went to the Dominican Republic. She's a student at University of Pittsburgh. Clearly comes from a good family, comes from a good background likely. She was a resident of India. Her family has moved here. Now she's going to University of Pittsburgh. That's good karma. And she went to Dominican Republic for a beach vacation, sea beach vacation with her friends. And she was out late at night with her friends, and then she is reported to have gone swimming in the ocean at like 4 o'clock in the morning. And then she's just nowhere to be found. And the person who was swimming with her, he said that all he remembers is getting hit by a big wave, getting thrown onto the shore, and then falling asleep on a beach chair, and then waking up and her not being there. So her parents did everything in order to ensure that she had a perfect upbringing. You know, very, very good schools, training her with proper values in order to know that you need to focus on your studies, was able to go to a very good school. University of Pittsburgh is a good school. You all know probably better than me. It's a good school, Pitt? Pretty good school. Yeah. It is a good school? Okay. If Vishal Vinod says it's a good school, it's definitely a good school. So, a great school, was probably a good student, and her parents did everything in order to set her up perfectly in this world. But what happens? You go on a vacation, and just a moment of foolishness, gone. So Prahlad Maharaj says, just as parents do everything that they can to protect a child, or this COVID-19, who remembers that? Anyone? Okay. So COVID-19, everyone was so in fear of this virus, which was spreading all around the world. And then they, within 6 months of it coming out, they had claimed that they had found a vaccine. I can speak that way now because we're a little bit beyond it. Previously, that might draw guns. But everyone was so concerned. We have to get the vaccine. We have to, get the jab, is what they were saying. But still, people who were getting the vaccine, they were falling sick. So then what happens? You have to get 8 vaccines for the thing. But still people will fall sick, and still people are getting sick now. There's still so many unanswered questions regarding the cause of the pandemic and how to actually deal with it and what's the best cure. You can't be protected. And then finally, if you're out at sea on a boat, just because you're out on a boat, it doesn't mean that you can be protected from drowning. So Prahlad Maharaj says that as long as one does not accept you as their ultimate protector, Rakshiti Vishvaso Goprit Ve Varanam Tata, as long as that realization isn't there, nothing can protect your position in this world. And Maharaj Yudhisthira is completely conscientious of that. That's what's taking place in this verse, is that he's completely conscientious that everything which I've worked so hard for, I mean, and the Pandavas worked very hard to get to where they were. The Pandavas had struggled and struggled and struggled in order to attain that kingdom. And now all of them are just walking away from it. Why? Because they see it's just a temporary arrangement. There's nothing which can be done. There's nothing that can be done in order to secure your position within this world. And Maharaj Yudhisthira, being a example of how to exist in this world and not be touched by it. Brahman yadaya karmani sangam tvakva karoteya libite nasa papena padmam patram ivambasaha. That if you want to live in this world and be untouched by it, this is how you do it. You offer everything which you do for the pleasure of Krishna, and in this way you'll be untouched by your activities. So, although some people walk into the funhouse, and like the children, they walk into the funhouse and they see the mirror and they really think that they've become that fat. But the parents, they can walk through and they can see that, well, it's not actually me. It's just a temporary circumstance that I'm going through. But for the children, they think, oh, this is what life's going to be like. I'm going to be fat. I'm going to be skinny. Or like, I remember my father, when I was growing up, he brought me to Disneyland. And I didn't want to go on any of the rides. And why do children not want to go on the rides? I mean, why do children feel scared to go on rides? Especially like some of these like rides where you go through a cave and there's all these talking animals. And then there's like a big bear that jumps up and screams. Why are children afraid? They're fearful because they think that's what's actually going on. But the parents know this is just a ride which we're passing through. So they're not moved by it. So in the same way, Someone who has spiritual intelligence, they don't identify with the circumstances. The children on the ride, the children in the funhouse, they're identified with the experience of the ride. So they're overwhelmed by the emotions which come along with it. But the parents can see we're just temporarily passing through here, and soon the ride's going to be over. So those who have spiritual intelligence, they're able to see past the changing nature of this world and understand that there's a higher destination than just trying to establish myself. As Prabhupada says here, no one should follow the suicidal policy of neglecting one's supreme task. So we may have various duties which we have to follow, but we should follow the example of Maharaj Parikshit. And the example which he is setting is that there are phases of life which everyone will go through. There's a time for work, and there's a time for reflection, and there's a time for service. And according to the psychophysiological nature of a personality, these phases may come sooner than for others. And there's a natural work which everyone has, and one should act according to the capacity, and Krishna says that's good. Brahmanyadaya karmani, sangam tvakva karotiya, that offer everything, Brahma Yadaya Karmani. Whatever activity that you have to perform in this world, whatever particular skill, you do that, but you offer it to me. Sangam Tvakva Karotiya. Don't allow the association with that activity to bind your consciousness. Yagyartha karmanonartya lokoyam karma bandhana. Don't let your activities overwhelm your identification in this world. Rather, allow your identification to function in such a way that it controls your activities, and the fruit of that activity is ultimately engaged in your higher purpose. So the various stages of life which one goes through is brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. And Maharaj Yudhisthira is setting the example that we're not meant just to establish ourselves comfortably and remain in that position. Is if you get yourself entangled, you should be conscientious that there will come a period of your life where you're going to have to untangle yourself. And that's what the purpose of the Vanaprastha ashram is that you got yourself entangled. Now you spend some time unentangling yourself and preparing your consciousness for full absorption in Krishna. So this is the culture of Varnashram, is that we're not meant to just simply live for the enjoyment of the fruit of our activity, but rather atapum bir dvija shreshtas varnashrama vibhagasta. Karma varnashrama vibhagasta. Guna karma vibhagasha. We're getting all the verses. Swanasthitasya vaipumsam samsiddhir haritoshanam. Swanasthitasya vaipumsam samsiddhir haritoshanam. That all the various ashramas which one may be going through, all the phases of life which one may be going through, the underlying principle, the common denominator amongst all of them is samsiddhir haritoshanam. Everything needs to be offered to Krishna. In some phases of life, provide a clear absorption in that consciousness, but everything should be moving in our life towards tasmat ekena manasa bhagavat satvatam patihi shotvayas kirtvayasyascha deya pujascha nityada. Tasmat ekena manasa. That you may be in a particular phase of life, and that phase of life has various responsibilities which you may have to be managing and orchestrating, but you should see that you're making progress towards the favorable cultivation of tasma ekena manasa. That everything should be moving in that direction. I have one godbrother who has quite a few children, quite a few for now, probably in the past it would have been less. There's a good number of children for nowadays. Nowadays, people don't even have children, generally. But he has a good number of children for today. And I told him that, generally I've seen that when devotees are changing ashramas, it's difficult for them to maintain relationships with brahmacharis, which they had previously had relationships with. And he said, yeah, that's generally the case because there's kind of a shifting of the responsibilities and the phase of life which one is going through. One needs association which can kind of relate with the obstacles which come with any particular phase of life. So it's quite natural. And I said, but I don't feel that way with you. And he said, well, that's because although we've had our children, and although we're still raising our children, his children are quite young, my wife and I are very clear we're not having any more children, and we're now in the stage of preparing for the Vanaprastha ashram. So him and his wife have made a conscious choice that they're preparing for the Vanaprastha ashram, despite the fact their kids are like 2, 4, 6, and maybe 7. They're quite young, but they made a conscious decision, no more children, and now we're preparing ourselves for the Vanaprastha ashram. So whatever phase of life one may be in, I'm giving this example as a guide as to how everything needs to be moving towards tasma ekena manasa. And whatever one's particular need may be within the context of this world, according to their psychophysiological nature, the varnashram system is willing to facilitate that, provided one is willing to make their ultimate purpose in life tasma ekena manasa. The whole varnashram system is willing to kind of facilitate and give concession to the various promptings of sense gratification which may come through the subtle body of a living entity, but it's willing to facilitate that to the degree one is willing to move in the direction of tasma ekena manasa. If one's not willing to move in the degree of tasma ekena manasa, you can see that there's more regulations which the Vedas provide. If one is more inclined towards fruitive activity, there's a lot of things which one has to do in order to keep up that pattern of life. There's a lot which needs to be done. Whereas, if one is willing to do tasma ekena manasa, the duties of one's life become extremely simplified. Because Krishna wants to make it clear that this is the best thing. It most naturally orients the living entity towards a life of freedom, purpose, service, and surrender, when that is one's ultimate goal. So we have a very grave responsibility on an individual level, and we also have a responsibility to educate others in the need for this full absorption in Krishna. And to the degree we make that our ultimate goal, to that degree we'll feel Krishna's presence in our life, because we'll be connected through service. Ata Shri Krishna Namadi, Nabhavet Graim Indriye, Sevam Muke Hiji Vadao, Swayameva Spratidao. Krishna reveals himself according to the mood of service which we have. So if our primary absorption in life is, how do I give others the opportunity to absorb themselves in Krishna? Like, for instance, I went on book distribution last night, and there was a man that I was able to get a donation out of him, a bit, I would say begrudgingly. He kind of, he said, I'll give later. I said, can you give now? And he said, okay. So he gave 20. He was a very nice person. Him and I had a nice exchange, but I was insisting that he take the Bhagavad Gita. He says, I already have these books. I said, I know you have these books. This isn't for you. I said, on Thursday is a very special day, and I want you to gift this to someone. I want you to give this as a gift to someone. And he said, but then I have to think about who I need to give it to. And I said, that's the point. I said, your mind is dealing with so many things. I have to go to work. I have to buy groceries. I have to do that. I have to do this. But I want you to dedicate some amount of your energy to thinking, who am I going to give this Bhagavad Gita to? I want you to be a little bit stressed out about it. And he said, okay, fine, I'll take it. So we have to tax ourselves within the course of all the activities we may be having, to think of how to do good for others, because that activity is extremely pleasing to Krishna. To think, how do I give others the opportunity to be Krishna conscious? If that is the purpose of one's life, then one will directly feel the presence of Krishna. And this leaning towards full absorption in Krishna will become extremely easy because one will have the mercy factor of Krishna within one's life. Varnashrama on its own will not be effective in helping one achieve that full absorption. In the Kali Yuga, Varnashrama, it should be practiced to the best of our capacity, but we should understand that the only thing which is actually going to work for us, the only active ingredient which is going to send us above and beyond the monotony of our material life, is the Sankirtan activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is the only thing which will actually give us the Samsadir Haritoshana. One could be practicing Varnashrama very nicely. That's the verse I'm looking for. Shama Evahi Kevalam. Dharma Svanasitam Pumsam Vikshrakshena Katasya. Napadayat Yatirathib. Shrama Evahi Kevalam. Even if one does Varnashram nicely, if they don't meet this point of hearing and chanting about Krishna and developing a taste for it, then all of those activities are Shrama Evahi Kevalam. They're a useless waste of time. So the purpose of the Varnashram system is to bring us full absorption in Krishna, because our consciousness is currently directed away from Krishna, and the consciousness being directed away from Krishna is entangling us in an illusory reality. We're accepting that which is not real to be real. And this is prompting within our heart various emotions of fear, anxiety, and a sense of being out of place. So the Varnashram system is meant to regulate the life, to point one in the direction of being fully absorbed in Krishna and facilitating the various different psychophysiological natures which one may have, to emphasize that full absorption in Krishna is the ultimate purpose. And then by existing in the Varnashram system and being regulated, the mind becomes peaceful, and with that peaceful mind, one can engage in the Sankirtan activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and those Sankirtan activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will fully satisfy the heart. This is the purpose of the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the purpose of the Sankirtan movement, to engage ourselves and engage the entire world in the chanting of Hare Krishna. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. Kalo Nasteva 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 Gantiranyata. Hare Krishna. Am I on time? What time do you guys generally start? Okay.
Yeah, we started a bit late. Maybe we can take a couple of questions.
Okay.
Canto, there's this verse, the last sentence of that verse. So it's 7:11:22. This is after Prahlad when talking about the Varnashram system. And he says Shanay Nirguna Tamya, which means following the Varnashram system, one gradually gets purified. And Vishwa Chakravarti Thakur comments on that word saying, whenever the Srimad Bhagavatam says gradually, Shanay, it means Bahu Janmana Eva. It means after many lifetimes. If that is your only purpose, to follow the Varnashram system. And you clearly specified that our purpose is not to follow the Varnashram system, but to use it as a means where keeping keeping Krishna as the sole goal, and use this as a medium to achieve that. So thank you for that. That's very clearly getting it.
Hare Krishna. In Sankirtan, even in the form of cooking, will help fix the mind in Krishna.
Thank you for this. I really like the point in the beginning how everything is already there, like all the cards and everything like that. The facility is already there. We simply discovered it. It's taking me back to like some fun interactions you would have as kids with other people, like asking basically stupid questions of what was the biggest mountain before Mount Everest was discovered? It's like it was still Mount Everest, it's just they wasn't discovered yet, right? Um, but I was just thinking how it's so obvious, right? When you say that scenario, people will laugh at you, right? If you say the wrong answer. But and yet you see nowadays people are so excited. Oh, I made DeepSeek, I made this big ChatGPT, I made this, I made that. No, you didn't make anything. It was everything was there for you. You just put the pieces together and you're calling it your own. And the reason that in that sense people are so proud of you, whereas in this sense they just laugh at you, is because people want to be illusioned that I can have that I was the doer. People want that to be illusion. And that's why in this world it's so much accepted, even though if you look at it objectively in terms of Krishna said all this stuff, it's really laughable to think that you did anything in that regard. So it's just when you said that, I was just thinking in today's world, and it really like brought it to home how foolish we are to think that we are the doer. So.
Yeah, Prabhupada would often criticize scientists for this, that they claim to have discovered so many things. And he said, Prabhupada said that discover means it was already there, so who are you to take credit for it? Your discovery should only be used as a means for glorifying Krishna, is the point that Prabhupada made. Prabhupada said that scientists aren't discovering anything. They're just becoming aware of how great Krishna is without acknowledging that it's Krishna's greatness.
Really like your knowledge, like the practical example you gave about the girl who went missing. They did everything to raise the.
Yeah.
But unless they were protected by Krishna, anybody, so we can just do one foolish mistake in our life. We can lose our life, or we can just mess up the whole life just by one foolish mistake. So yeah, that example was very, it drove the point home for me. And also to give the other examples about church, the austerities, the time of Lent, and then people get the black mark.
Tilak. They get tilak.
Yeah. Like this, we have come and like this, we should prepare.
Yeah.
So amazing that all the bona fide traditions, they accept this as the most important reality. We should base our life on that.
Yeah.
And that. So it's amazing. I mean, we have such clear knowledge, but still we are not able to take benefit, even from so many other traditions. Yeah, Maya is so strong.
Yeah, there's a study, something that Guru Maharaj talks about is something known as mortality salience. Have you ever heard of this before? You can look it up on your phone, it's very interesting. But mortality salience, I'll just describe it and then Vishal Vinod can give us ChatGPT's definition. Mortality salience is this concept that people organize their life around avoiding the fact they have to die. They have an existential crisis dealing with the fact that they are mortal, but they have a desire to live. So people busy themselves in the various circumstances of their life in order to forget the fact that they have to die. And he said most of modern society has been arranged like that. But you can see that in ancient societies, infrastructure would be intentionally made simple. Temples would be made very big. And society was organized in such a way to remind people that death is a part of life, it's a part of reality, and that you should be preparing for the moment of death. Whereas modern Western civilization is designed around the fact of trying to hide death as much as possible. Like for instance, in India, even now, it's becoming a little bit different from how it was, but you'll see that when they're going to the crematorium, they make it known to everyone. Ram Nam Satya Hai. I was telling, Satya Sankalpa Prabhu brought me to this grocery store, and not a lot of people taking books. And I was going, Ram Nam Satya Hai. And then he was saying, Prabhu, do you know what that means? I said, yeah, there's a funeral of my false ego happening here. So the people will be chanting that, and then they'll be throwing the sugar cubes on the ground. That's what it looks like, at least. It's sugar or rice. What is it, Prabhu? Oh, okay. I thought if Vishal doesn't know, none of us will know. It's some type of grain, maybe sesame or something. And they're throwing, and then everyone's chanting Harinam Bolo, Harinam Bolo, and they're just telling everyone to chant the names of Krishna. But even that's quite hidden in comparison to how it used to be, I would say. But in America, if someone dies, you don't know. Yeah. Unless you hear an ambulance, but most of the time we don't put two and two together. I remember I heard Guru Maharaj say that he was with Satyadev Prabhu once, and they heard an ambulance, and Satyadev Prabhu said, someone's either checking in or checking out. Because he used to be a paramedic. So whenever I hear an ambulance, I just remember someone's checking in or checking out. So mortality salience. You want to read the definition, the ChatGPT bona fide explanation?
A core concept in terror management theory. It refers to the awareness of one's own death, prompting psychological defense mechanisms to manage the existential anxiety this awareness evokes.
What's the verse? Is that Bhagavad Gita?
That's Yudhishthira Maharaj speaking to the Yaksha.
Oh, what's the most wonderful thing? Most wonderful thing. Yeah, see, all these ideas are already existing in the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Vedas. Anyone from online? Adinath Krishna Prabhu. I'm looking forward to spending time with you this evening. Oh, he just sent a heart, so I mean he must be driving. Yeah. And then Sat Vat Jagwani. Did I say that?
Hare Krishna, thank you, Prabhu, for the nice class.
You have any questions, Satva?
Prabhu, actually, I was taking bath at that time, so I only half heard it.
You what? You're taking.
I was taking bath,
okay,
so I only half heard it.
Okay, well, from what you heard, would you like to reflect on anything?
Prabhu, that was an interesting joke you said at the end, like Ram Nam Satya, it's a funeral of false ego. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Satva. I hope your Spanish Sankirtan is going well.
Yes, Prabhu, yeah, Sankirtan is going well. Yeah, I generally join on Sundays, not on Fridays. Like Hispanic Sankirtan happens on Fridays and Sundays, but I only join on Sundays.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu, for nice class.
Hare Krishna. Okay, I think we can stop, right?